the whole idea of the HIE component is really data exchange outside of your organization. It's really moving it outside of your own internal system. And that's an important piece. For example, if you have a after-visit summary and you're transmitting that to the patient portal, most likely that's not going to require a health information exchange. Most likely that'll be an internal process. So we're really looking at going outside the scope of information technology that you control. Objectives, measures, documentation, a key element, and Sean alluded to this, which makes my work particularly challenging, is CMS uses those terms somewhat interchangeably, objectives and measures. The objective is what it is you want to achieve. And if you look at the table of contents for stage 2 or stage 1, it calls them objectives. And then when you turn to the specification sheet, it'll call it a measure. So unfortunately, it's very confusing. But I like to look at it, the objective is what it is you're trying to achieve. The measures is the means by which you achieve the objective. So if you fulfill the measures, by definition, you will then achieve the objective. And the third one, documentation, is a key element in all of this, as everyone knows. And so I'll put some energy into addressing that as well. So some of the objectives with an HIE component, and actually many of them have it potentially, as the health information exchanges sort of get built out and they have more functionality. But the two that we're going to focus on is the transitions of care, and it's also known as the summary of care, the view, download, transmit, which is electronic access, patient electronic access, more commonly considered the portal. And then Sean will spend a little bit introducing us to the health registry submission. The last three we're not going to address at this point: e-prescribing, lab results, secure electronic messaging. So what we're really looking at is the environment is shifting beyond the EHR. I guess that's the main message of today's presentation, and that the idea is to really embrace that and to know that's in a way part of the plan, to really expand beyond the individual EHRs so that there is this increased level of reliability and connectivity. So one of the things that came up this year, based on a lot of feedback from vendors and people in the field, IT folks, is that the ability to implement all of these new systems, especially the 2014 edition, were really much more challenging than anticipated by CMS and ONC. So there currently is a proposed rule which would allow some flexibility in how people attest in 2014. Essentially, if you don't have your 2014 version, you can still use the 2011 certified, but you would not be able to attest to stage 2. It would have to be stage 1. If you do have the new 2014 version, you have an option of attesting to stage 1 or moving forward to stage 2. The advantage of going to stage 2 is that January 1st, if you're in your second year for meaningful use in Medicaid, or your third year for Medicare, you do have to do a 365-day reporting period for stage 2. Here's a little schematic I put together how to approach meaningful use, and I suspect many of you are already pretty much following this methodology. But number one, I believe, is a really important one, that look at these objectives in the context of your own organization. One of the challenges I've seen people sort of almost create for themselves is they see these objectives as CMS's objective, or ONC, or somebody else. It's not for the benefit of the practice. And what I encourage you to do is to think of them as opportunities to utilize the new processes, utilize technology to benefit the effectiveness and success of your organization. So yes, it is a requirement of CMS, but try to own that. Try to take it on as a way that it comes back to improve the work that you're doing. The second one, and this is one particularly challenging for the smaller practices where you actually are beginning to look at policies, procedures, workflow, and in some ways you could say this is a process approach. So part of this is to really think of it as a process. It's not event-driven. It's not transactions. It's not a one-time thing. It's really about creating a process. The third one, align that with meeting the meaningful use measures. The fourth one, do what's necessary to meet the measures. That may seem totally obvious, but as many of you know, to retrain staff, to really educate people that what you have to do has to, in a way, contribute to the metrics that will demonstrate you've met the measures. Capturing the evidence, generating and storing credible documentation. And then the last two, again, leverage technology to achieve objective. And if you'll notice, I did not use the word EHR or certified EHR. I used the term technology because that's what this is all about. There's more components to leveraging technology than just the certified EHR. The last one, improved interoperability. There are two sides to it. There's the sending side, which is where the metrics are predominantly. But there's also the receiving side. If you're a great receiver of referrals from a technological point of view, there may be the consequence that people like referring patients to you. So look at that as even though the measurements don't really reward being a good receiver, from a practicality point of view, if you're good both on sending the documentation, putting it out there in an effective way, and then also receiving, there are great advantages for your practice. Okay, we're going to move through these quickly. I'm assuming people are somewhat familiar with the specific objectives and measures. Again, if you look at it, the objective is what you want to achieve, and the measures are, it's the doing. That's the process. Are you, in fact, doing the activities that will demonstrate that you have successfully met these measures and then achieve the objective. And this is for the EP summary of care. Next. View, download, and transmit. One of the points I want to emphasize here, which is very, very subtle, if you look at the objective, it provides patients the ability to view online, download, and transmit, which means the technology has to have that functionality. If you look at measure 2, the 5%, more than 5% of unique patients view, download, or transmit. Notice the or. So you can pick from any one of those three. But the first one is you really have to make sure that the capability, the functionality is available for all the patients. Okay, and on the hospital side, very, very similar. The summary of care is essentially identical to the what you have for the EPs. And the download, transmit, a little bit different because you're dealing with discharges. The turnaround time is a little quicker, 36 hours versus 4 days for the EPs. Documentation. I also like to use the word memorialize, sort of like Mount Rushmore, where you really are very conscious of retention of proof that you have in fact carried out the measures properly and correctly, and that it's open to scrutiny should there be an audit or in terms of attestation that you need supporting documentation. The second bullet point is like we're moving into new territory here. The interoperability documentation is a new frontier. It's really all about, again, training partners, which Sean will address, but it's also getting very reliable verification that whatever content has been sent or transmitted has in fact been received or viewed or used or somehow accepted on the other end. And this is one of the real key points of a trading partner, that they're sensitive to the documentation requirements and are cooperative in terms of helping you generate metrics that show that you have in fact carried out a successful transmission.